Anyway, we're
Yeah,
recording.
now we are.
How's tricks
So,
anyway? Yeah.
yeah, I've been doing a little bit more marketing lately. You might have noticed. Yeah, not as much as I would like to, but I have been putting a little more focus on that. I haven't been back to the code base in a while.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been, working on the website
I
and
mean, there's, as we talked about before, I think there's nothing that you need to add right now, is there? Everything that you've got, it's workable as a product, it's usable, it's billable. So, I know that's always a
exactly.
difficult. It's easier for somebody else to say that than yourself. I'm at the same situation, right? It's like I could bill these beta users, but I still don't feel I should. But even though I probably could, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially when these kinds of issues pop up, it makes
Yeah.
me feel uneasy about that. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's not quite solid. It's not
Mm.
really there because all these little things can pop up. But I am getting ready to go back to the code base and start working on the product. And I think I mentioned last time that I'm trying to get into a routine where I spend 1 week doing product development and 1 week doing marketing.
Right.
And so for the past few weeks, I just thought of this recently, but for the past few weeks, I've been focusing on other things other than the product itself. So, marketing stuff mainly. Last week, my goal was to wrap that up, and this week start with, getting back to the code base. But it didn't turn out that way because I still had some lingering things tying up some loose ends. I was writing a blog post that I just wanted to finish it and
Yep.
post it. And so I did that yesterday, and today
Yeah.
is
So I saw I read it in Mega Maker, right? So you posted it
yes.
for comments. So that's really cool. I think that's a really good start for the type of content you're gonna want to publish, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like I mean that's a good summary post of like here's some great tips for basically getting
Yeah.
going. In fact, some of them it might be nice to actually incorporate into your like session startup process, right? Almost like when someone starts a session, it might be worth just reminding, making sure that you've done these things. Turn on do not disturb, or maybe worth closing other browser windows if you've got too many open, that kind of thing, just to like give them a gentle nudge. Because I mean, I forget to hit the do not disturb thing all the time.
Yeah, I
Not a
do
bad
that
idea.
too sometimes.
So yeah, no,
Yeah.
that potentially, especially for guests, because I mean, if you're the one recording the podcast, yeah, you know all about it, right? In theory. But
Yeah.
if someone's not as used to doing it, then yeah, just kind of giving them a gentle nudge to like, maybe it's worth rebooting before you start recording, just to make things go smoother, or
Yeah.
close your other browser windows, something like that. So.
Yeah. And even for experienced podcasters, sometimes you're just in a hurry. I've had conversations with podcasters where they say, yeah, sometimes I'm just in a hurry, running from one thing to the next. And I, finally get to getting ready to record, and I forget to,
Right.
do something. I forget to hit record or something like that.
I mean,
So
this is one of the really nice things about FusionCast, or using browser recording anyway, is it minimizes the amount of stuff you have to remember to do anyway. I mean, having done recordings, even just simple GarageBand recordings, is just there's a lot to remember unless you're doing it every day, right? It's
yeah.
so knowing that you've got a load of those things taken care of, just making sure that it's recording, there's backups, there's double-ended recordings, it's split, that's all taken care of, so you can focus on your actual conversation, right? So that's why I think those like nudges just as you start the call, like just make sure remember these things, even just making sure that the microphone is in a good position, that kind of thing. It might be just a nice little reminder as part of the call start process, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I'll look into that for sure.
I mean, I think I mentioned last time, I've been looking at this, effectively the onboarding. I know people really don't like that word, and I'm kind of impartial to it. I know some work with someone, and she's like, I hate this word so much. And I can feel that a little bit, but just the process of winning someone over or convincing them, what to do or why they should be doing this is really hard. So I've been experimenting with a few different ways that seem okay to me and not too intrusive. Like I've been playing with these, the guided tour things. the
Mhm.
little pop-up windows, and I'm not convinced. I mean, I always they annoy me, but I know they're helpful to some people. So I'm like,
Yeah.
can I just solve it with just a modal that kind of welcomes you and gives you an explanation of what to do,
Yeah.
and hope that you can figure out the rest, or do I put little pointy arrows to everything on the screen and guide them through the process? So I may end up trying a few different things, but I guess that the biggest shock for this was that software to do this, as in that there's a 1,000,001 guided tour. I forget what they call it, a digital adoption platform, something.
Mm.
There's a term that I discovered that I didn't know. It's really expensive, or at least from a bootstrapper's point of view. Like the average normal price for them is like $250, $300 a month, and I'm like, wait, what?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I found one help here that is like 60 or 50 or 60, and that it's obviously not as feature rich. It's obviously a smaller company, but even that's like by far the cheapest one I can find. Intercom has a new, is it startup kind of thing, and it's like, oh, it's only $75 a month for the first year, and of course then it goes up to $350, $400, $500 a month. And so even
Mhm.
that is like, do I want to get dependent on that and then realize I've got to pay $500 a month? I'm like, no, really. So going with just a simple, I put a few modals up and tell you what to do, is it's nice from a cost perspective, and not starting to rely on another external service that, yeah, is one, expensive, and two, just another thing to
Yeah.
rely on, is probably what I'm going to
Uh,
do, at least at first.
and another layer of complexity because now it's some integration that you have to,
Mm-hmm.
take care of.
It's another JavaScript file to throw in the in the
Yeah.
ever-growing list of things. Well, I've actually removed the feedback button thing I had. So I was using a service called Feedback Fish.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember that.
yeah, and it's nice. I like it. I've got no issues with it, but people just aren't using it. So,
Okay.
and I needed the space. I sort of probably put it back as something else in
Hmm.
another drop down or something, but the only people who used it were people who could have just emailed me anyway. They're people I know, and the actual people I hoped would use it, as in customers I don't know and don't have a relationship with me anyway, just actually didn't use it. They're the people who emailed me about it, rather than the
Hmm.
friends that are using it use the button, which is
I
the
see.
opposite of what I expected. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably put it back, but I removed it for the moment anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What other
Let's see.
marketing efforts have you been up to?
Well, actually, these past 2 weeks haven't been, like I was saying, haven't been as productive as I wanted them to be, just because of other things going on, with work, and just haven't been able to find enough time to work on FusionCast related items. So just managed to get those, to write that blog post and, post on Twitter here and there and interact with people more, get out there a little more. Also, part of these past 2 weeks, besides that, in the back of my mind, I've been thinking about this main issue that I need to resolve, that recording issue that
Mm.
I've been having with FusionCast. So I've been thinking about it and doing some research here and there, trying to brainstorm how I can go about it
Mm.
to fix that problem.
I mean, I guess that's your probably your biggest engineering challenge right now, is making sure
Mhm.
this is resolved for good, right? So it
Yeah,
might be worth just spending the next engineering chunk of time rather than the marketing chunk of time, of just like that's the thing to fix, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
everything else is pretty much there's this endless, like, everything can be improved, right? But everything else is fine, but if that isn't 100% reliable, then that's a problem, right?
That's an issue, exactly, and that's why it's been in the back of my mind, but it kind of slowed me down in trying to focus on the marketing
Mm,
stuff during that time that was supposed to be focused, or that was supposed to be dedicated to
right.
marketing. I've been thinking about this and kind of like gravitating towards that, and how am I going to fix it, and brainstorming. And so it wasn't like the best situation, that mental model wasn't really the best. So
Get this thing
um
fixed, and then you can focus all of your attention next time on that, right?
exactly, yeah,
I
now
do
that
like
I've
the video you put on your homepage. So I like the redesign, the video. That's cool.
oh, cool, thanks.
I do like video explainers and walkthroughs, and much more so than just an animation, an advertising marketing animation. It's like, no, it's again, it's puts the name, the person, they're just an obvious this is what the product is and this is how it works. I like that. And I'm going to record another one for my onboarding kind of thing. So that's just because the product has changed enough that it's not entirely like that anymore. It's not 100% the same screen anymore. And I just think I can do a better version of that now. So I'm going to try and record that I will record that this week. There's no try.
There you go. Yeah. And it takes a long time to get
It takes
to
a
get it to work,
surprisingly amount of time, right? Just to do something simple like, a 30-second or 1-minute video is like, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. We had to do it all over and over and over, try different things. And when we thought it was done and it was working, then we noticed something else wasn't working and did it again. And then editing took forever too. So, but it turned out good. I'm my worst critic. I'm never satisfied with anything I do. So,
I
so
know that feeling.
So to me, it's like it's good enough. Just put it out there, but I've gotten pretty good feedback about it.
Cool, excellent. No, I mean it's. I say it's all feels like it's coming together. I think at some point you're going to have to almost do. I don't want to say a launch because it's a hard launch is not easy or feasible to do on your own. Not very manageable anyway. But you almost need a kind of like a deadline or some moment in time when you can say, okay, it's actually live, and there's nothing. There's no hesitation in giving people a sign up URL, right?
Sure.
I guess that's the thing, which for me is like it feels like it's forever getting further away, even though in theory it's getting closer. It just feels like that the amount of stuff I need to do to be comfortable doing that, it feels like it's ever increasing, right? Even though realistically it's not. I think just it's the confidence thing again, isn't it? Right? It's knowing that, okay, it's not mine anymore in terms of, there's not a wall that, I let you in one at a time. It's like, no, just climb over the wall if you feel like it. It's a scary moment, and it does feel that I've got to hit that soon or else I'm going to go a little bit crazy. Right. You probably feel the same.
Yeah, and we risk hitting burnout. If we don't make significant progress and new things are happening, it feels like you're just in the same spot and you're spinning wheels and wasting all this energy and not getting anywhere. So yeah, I totally get it. But yeah, I don't really have much of an update on my end. I'm getting back to the code base starting tomorrow. My goal is to completely eliminate the need for this recovery feature that I created, right? Because if that's my target, then that means, FusionCast will handle every situation more reliably, even if the page is refreshed or whatever happens.
So now, if I go to try to leave, it'll say, no, wait until it's finished. Do you catch the tab or window close as well? Will it stop me from closing the window?
It won't do anything. You'll be able to close the window or the tab or the browser, anytime. It won't stop you because I tried doing that, and what ends up happening for some reason, and I may revisit this, but what ends up happening is the camera signal is interrupted for some reason. Okay. It's not a clean way of handling it, at least the way I tried it. I tried all different ways, and I couldn't get it to pop the message that you normally get without interrupting the communication or what's going on. The camera would disappear or some weird thing would happen, and I just couldn't get it. So I might revisit that, but that's one of the challenges.
Right. You might require the recovery mode just for that case, right? And if somebody does close the browser and there is a hanging bit of upload left, then that you might need it for that, but hopefully that's the only case, right? Or do you just kind of say, well, you lost that, that's it, finish the file, and that's your problem?
Yeah. See, the thing is, if only a few seconds are lost at the end, I don't think it's a big deal. I think, it could be handled that way and not be a major issue. But yeah, it's a tough problem to solve, at least with what I have, what I know, the way engineering this thing, it's a tough problem to solve, and I don't know how other services have handled it.
Mm,
Some claim that it's not an issue for them,
mm.
but I don't really know because I don't use them. So I just need to figure it out my own way to do it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because, as you say, if it's only a case of, oh, you lost the last 10 seconds because everything else up until then was uploaded because you're constantly uploading, right? Then,
Hmm.
well, that's your fault. You closed the browser too quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if it's significantly more, like if it's a few minutes, then that's not good, right?
Yeah.
Because, and again, because you won't, as the recorder, you won't have control over what the guest does, right? But at the same time, removing that whole entire leg of the process and saying, well, that's just it. Once they've closed the browser, the session ends, and it's up. You've got what you've got. It
Yeah.
removes complexity on your end, and it removes instructions and a whole. Well, you need to go and do this. It's just like it's all gone, right? So
Exactly.
there's a big, yeah, that's a nice thing to do, and just say, well, don't and close the browser early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Press leave and let the session finish before you close your browser. That's your problem. So
Yeah.
that's, I think this is one of the, I think this also is something I feel is more difficult as a solo small team. Is you want to almost like please everybody. You want to catch all of the cases. You want to make everybody happy, right? Whereas I know if I was making that decision, we were a company and there was, lots of us building a product, and somebody came to me with that feature, I'd be like, that's low. That's not going to stop shipping, right? That's
Yeah.
not going to stop us shipping. We put up a thing to say that's it. But when it's your own, you really do feel like a much more responsibility there, right? And
Hmm. Yeah.
that's a really hard thing to get through the thinking process. Is you really do
Hmm.
feel like, I mean, I hit this all the time with .plan, right? There's features that I'm building that I'm like, if I was building this for a company, I just would deprioritize it. I'd say it's not a priority for this release. I would literally put a line through it and say, we're not tackling that yet. Whereas I do feel right now it's very difficult to say to in your mind, I'm not going to think about that. I'm just not a
Hmm.
problem. You feel much more. I'm not sure if the word's responsibility, but you feel like this. Like
Compelled
you're compelled. There you go. That's it. Yes.
to make it
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect, or to
Yes.
make it really solid.
Yes. And I think that's also difficult because I've never done product management. I've done, technical leading. That's fine. I can prioritize and organize a technical team to make sure we build the things which need building. But making those product calls is not something I've advised from a technical point of view. But that's never been my job, and it's a really hard thing to learn, I think.
Yeah.
So I actually joined there's a Product Tank Tokyo Slack group and it's for product managers, which I know it's that there, and I know the role exists and I know a little bit about it, but I've never really thought about it as like a community that discusses the challenges of their role, right? So I'm like, okay, so I joined this, introduced myself, they have meetups and all the rest, and they were excited to welcome an engineer into their into their group. They seem like, oh, we'd love to hear your take on it as a founder, as an engineer trying to come to terms with these challenges.
Mhm.
So they actually said, would you be willing to talk about this when things are back in the talking kind of sense. I'm like, whoa, okay, I was just saying hello. So it was interesting to see that they obviously have a different set of challenges in getting engineering to almost do what they want.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like there's in the same way that design and engineering has a push-pull relationship, I think product engineering or product management and product engineering has a different set of dynamics, right? That they both have different priorities and goals, and you need somewhere to meet in the middle. And
yeah, totally.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I'm hoping to, figure it out at some point. I just need to spend more time and try different things. And I have some ideas of how to go about it, but I have to try it out and see how it goes.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Get that working.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. That's your task.
Yep.
No ifs or
Yep.
buts. That's got to get done.
Yeah. Eventually
I mean,
it'll
it
get
must be
done.
frustrating. I mean, it's obviously frustrating for you because there's, as I said, that's the. From my perspective, that's the barrier now for you to launch. Everything else is
Yeah.
a technicality. It's
Yeah.
there's nothing else. But at the same time, I can understand your hesitancy to want to bring on anyone else until you know this is solid and reliable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The way I see it, it's the core part of the
Yeah,
product, it's
this
the
is what it
recording.
does.
So it's what it does. So it needs to be more solid than it is now. It is pretty good right now. It works. If it's used properly, right, quote unquote properly, if it's used within the normal use cases, it works really
Yeah,
well. But once if we get it out into those outliers,
that'd be me
it
then. I'm the outlier. Basically, this only ever happens with me, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
sometimes.
it's your fault, Alan, but it's your fault, right? I take
No,
full
well,
responsibility.
no, well, we'll see. I think it'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I have to tell myself that I'll figure it out.
Oh, you will. I mean, you've solved so many other challenges to get this working as smoothly as it does. It is an edge case, and yeah, it's probably just something to do with the way we're faffing around with setting up calls and
Yeah.
my browser issues. And although I'd say so, I switched out this machine. So I had a 16-inch i9 MacBook Pro thing
Okay.
with lots of RAM and all the rest. So I've switched it to an M1 MacBook Air. So our last recording that we did like 2 weeks ago, because I was having so much issues with it overheating, it was just like going crazy. I couldn't run the laptop monitor and an external monitor at the same time. It would just like throttle to 800 megahertz and just like become unusable. So I had to choose one or the other. So I did our last call on battery because I didn't have a charger around. I remember we had to end the call at the end because I ran out of battery, right? So
Yeah.
that used an entire charge of that 16-inch MacBook Pro from 100% to 0 in 1 hour and 10 minutes. So now I'm on this M1 with like basically no fan and everything, and it's just
And
smooth as can
it's
be. It's
and it's 99%.
pretty much, yeah, it's nothing, no issues whatsoever. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard great things about the M1.
I mean, the crazy
Everyone.
thing is, it's it was half the price literally as well. So
Nice.
yeah. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm still trying to get used to this small screen, but I can do that.
But you can connect it to a
Yeah, I've
bigger
got it
screen,
plugged
right? A
into a
larger
big
screen.
screen as well. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, the screen's small. It's literally the only thing. So everything
Just
else is,
yeah, just you're used to the other one.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that actually slowed me down development wise a little bit as well, because just switching to a new machine takes time, right?
I hate doing that. It takes forever to get it back to where you
It's
want it to be.
better than it used to be with iCloud, and obviously everything is in GitHub now. It's
Yeah.
either on iCloud or it's in GitHub, but obviously things don't always go quite as smoothly as you hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that actually slowed me down a little bit, but at the same time, say that I've been trying to improve this onboarding thing. And so the solution I've come up with, I played around with a bunch of these tools. I tried Intercom, I tried Helpia, I think 3 or 4 of them. AppQs was the one. AppQs is nice, but again, it goes from $0 to $250 literally overnight. You go from, what is it? I can't remember. That you have a limited number of displays of the help, the modals or the guided tour you can do, depending on how many of those you view per month. And it's not a high number. It goes from free plan to 250 plan, literally, if you go one over. And I'm like, I don't want to commit to that right now.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm not sure that, it's a lot of work to get that set up as well, just because I'd have to go through and, all of these tools pretty much work the same in terms of they're like usually a Chrome extension that you browse to your site, you enable it, and then you set up a flow. So you say this element brings up this box, and you write the text for the box, and then when you click this, it goes to another one. So you basically set up this whole flow of onboarding somebody through your product, and then they take them to this page. And so it's a lot of work to actually get this set up, and it's a non-zero cost to change either, because each one you'd have to, if you decided to change from app queues to intercom, you'd have to go through the whole process again. It's not just an import. You import your app queues onboarding to intercom, you'd have to go through the whole process. And there's subtle differences in terms of some of them can't do this type of button layout. So I spent a few hours trying those out and came to the conclusion that this isn't what I should be doing right now. So I've just gone for, what I'm doing is putting up, so when you create an account, you get there's two different paths. If you create an account and create a workspace, you get one modal, which is basically explaining what to do with the demonstration video embedded in that modal. You can just close that and it's gone. I'm going to put like a help button somewhere which will re-show that. And then when you go to the the new check-in page, so to create a new check-in, I'm coming up with a different modal for that. So I'm writing out at the moment, which is the previous one is telling you what the service does for you and how you should use it. And then the check-in page modal basically tells you what to do on that page. Okay. So this is where a guided tour with the buttons would go if I committed to that. But I'm like, okay, in the meantime, in the short term, I'm just going to put up a modal and tell you what to do and hope that you can figure that out. It's not rocket science, right? So that's my free solution. Rather than committing to $250. And I'm hoping that just gets past the barrier of people, hitting that page and going, well, I don't know what to do. If it's a reasonably concise, clear explanation, then that will hopefully let them at least have the confidence to try it out. And then the other one, which I haven't done yet, is if you've been invited to the service from someone on your team, the person who created it or somebody else, putting up a different introduction modal. I'll keep the same one for the check-in page, how to use the check-in, but for the welcome, I'm writing a different modal, which is, you've been invited to this team and this is what you should do. So similar content, but different context, just because, again, at the moment, that this is actually the worst path through the application right now, is if you're invited by somebody, because it literally drops you in and goes, there you go. And it's I wouldn't say it's keeping me up at night, but it's really annoying me that this is so bad. So this is the one thing. Those three modals, effectively, I've got 1.5 of them done. I need to write the third one and improve the second one. And then that's my big push for this week, really. I'm hoping my plan is I want to send out some more invitations this weekend. And I feel that this is the thing that I don't want to send out the invitations without this in there, just because I'll hit the same. I don't think I'll learn anything new by people going through the same process. I think I will learn something new by having a better onboarding and then finding out how people respond to that. So that's my push for this week. I will get it done.
Nice. You will.
I will. I have a clear. Well, I mean, there's same. I have a million things on my list that I really desperately number one priority. But again, I'm trying to apply a little bit of product manager think, and I'm like, okay, what are these stopping me? No, none of these are. This one, it's purely the learning process. Again, I could send out the invitations. There's nothing stopping me, but I don't think I'd learn anything new. Sorry, something just fell onto my desk. So I could send these out, but by getting this onboarding done, I definitely feel I would learn something new from it. So that's my goal for this weekend. Well, this week and this weekend.
Nice. Sounds good. Wanted to ask you, back to those modals that you're creating. Have you thought about using video instead of text?
Yes.
Just do like little screencasts on there.
So actually, that's what I'm doing for the main welcome page. I was going to put like the demo welcome video on that page. I'm thinking I'm going to not do that and just say welcome to the service, give a little bit more space for explanation there. And then when you go to the create a check-in page, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
renaming. It's currently called My Plans or Your Plans. I'm changing that to create a check-in.
Okay.
The word plan is just, it's not working out in terms
Mm-hmm.
of people get confused by it. So I'm actually changing that to just create a new check-in. I use, check-in is the core thing that the whole product is based around. So that should be the button, right? That's what you're
Mm-hmm.
creating. So when you go to the create a new check-in page, then I'm going to put a video explaining how to use that page on there. That's my plan for that. So have a little bit of text and then a video doing that. The
Nice.
one, actually, I guess this isn't a problem because obviously I've got the Japanese English pages to do, but all the people I intend to invite will be in English for
Okay.
the next batch. So, I'm not going to pop this up if you're already already a member. It's only for new signups, so
Mm-hmm.
that won't
Mm-hmm.
actually affect any of the existing users. So that's a good point. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Nice.
because I
How,
think that creates a new check-in page it's not complicated, but again, it seems to be the one that I've had the most response that I don't know what I should do on this page. So I've actually
mm-hmm.
got a redesign in the works, but again, I don't want to rush that. It's good enough. It's usable right now. The one I'm working on is much better, but I also don't want to rush that out before I feel it's ready. And also that would
Yeah.
confuse existing users if I suddenly throw in a redesign of a page without at least letting them know what's going on.
Yeah, exact. Yep. That's always a challenge, keeping in mind those existing users and
This
not,
is
not undermine what they're used to and
right.
what they,
Mm-hmm.
what they like.
I mean, it's also one of the reasons I'm not. I mean, I think you're similar. I don't want to throw in too many users right now, or open the
Mm-hmm.
floodgates. Floodgates, right? Yeah, like that's gonna happen. The theoretical floodgates. Oh, look, it's anybody going to sign up, please?
You never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know, right? Once people do start signing up, then it becomes ever harder to make radical changes, right? So I would like to get this new check-in page design done before too long. That's kind of like my next big priority. There's some, a bunch of other smaller features that I need to finish off or add or improve.
Mm-hmm.
But the next big thing is the redesign check-in page. And after that, again, I'm reaching that point where I'm like, I've got no excuse anymore. I could come up with a million excuses, but I'm desperate to try to not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try and apply a little bit of this product manager thinking, just because it's otherwise it could go on forever, and we don't.
As you should. As you should.
Yes, it's hard though. It really
Awesome.
is. It really is hard to make that like cut off in your mind, right? It's. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in the same way that it's difficult to go from marketing to engineering, and I think it's a similar kind of going from front end to back end is no longer doesn't bug me anymore. I mean, that used to be
Mm-hmm.
like more difficult to switch between, right? I don't really feel that anymore now. That's the same thing. That's kind of just engineering the product, right? Whereas now the I guess as the scope of what you're doing, your job role grows, there's only so many kind of divisions you can make, right? So I
Yeah.
guess those have just merged into just engineering. That's just writing code now. And so yeah, it's definitely a challenging step.
Yeah. Yeah. The fun of building software.
It's it's exhausting at times, but
Yeah, but it's super rewarding too. I love it.
oh,
I could complain, but I love it.
I mean,
At the end of the day.
this is I was kind of doing the what if kind of extrapolation in your mind. Well, what do you do if you did suddenly have an influx of users and or money, right? What would you do? Or even if you had some kind of an exit, that was potentially possible. What would you do? And I'm like, I'd probably do the same thing again, right?
Yeah.
Probably just keep on doing this. I'm very boring, and it's like I can't actually think of anything that I'd rather just be playing video games or something in theory, but I know I wouldn't want to. I know that I'd get incredibly bored very quickly, and building products that make things better and make
People's lives easier, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I really enjoy doing that, and I think this is why also I'm not there was a Twitter thing last week, somebody saying that this definition or the division between like front end and back end is kind of
Hmm.
the wrong division, right? It's more division between a more realistic division separation is between product engineering and infrastructure engineering.
Hmm.
And I kind of feel that it I'm 100% product engineer, right? That what I the how I use my tools, the tools I use, the deployment services I use, the how everything is built, like the CI I use, all this. I really don't care so much about that as long as it works well, and I know how to
Hmm.
use it. But making those product decisions and trying to think through the how a product works and how it can work in someone's life is really the enjoyable bit for me. Writing the
Hmm.
code is the making that happen, and it's really nice to be able to do both.
Hmm.
But I don't feel so really that excited about the the infrastructure side of things.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I feel the same way. Yeah, yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
I just enjoy building products, and again, this is
Yeah.
probably why I would find it very difficult to fit within a, one of the FANG companies is you almost can't do this extended role, right? Or at least not easily. You would be an engineer and the scope of your role would be very tight. And I could just get really fidgety and antsy when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, this is why, I guess I've tended towards startups for the last, I don't know, what, 12, 14 years, probably longer. It's just because it is feasible and it's possible to be involved in all things, right? You're not
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
an engineer that happens to be in this very niche kind of area. And it's, I don't know, I don't think I'd do very well. Although, you see you see the salaries and you see the nice offices
Yeah.
and it would be super interesting to work on some of these massive scale projects, but I know I probably wouldn't fit me very well.
Yeah, same here. I mean, it would be interesting, but I don't know. I just think it's way more. I don't know if it's way more interesting. How to put this? I think that would be pretty interesting to work in some, a huge project that affects, millions of
Sure,
people, and
absolutely, yeah.
and your work is your work touches
Yeah,
so many lives,
I mean,
right?
yeah, can you imagine working on
That's
like Facebook or Instagram or something, knowing
yeah.
that there's a billion people using these things? It's kind of crazy to think, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
but at the
cool.
same, it
But
is cool. But at the same time, if you're in that environment, in that context, then your work is there's more going on, behind the scenes, and there are other agendas happening, right? By that these huge companies are following, and so your work is engulfed in that, and it has a secondary effect that you probably don't even intend to have. So, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. I'd rather, work in a small, calm, slow growth company of my own,
pretty
right?
much, yeah,
That has, for sure a lot less of an impact, but hey, as long as you can make a positive impact in someone's life,
right,
it doesn't have to be
no,
millions around the world.
right.
But
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the scale and the scope is less important to me than the quality, right?
yep,
Both for me and for my customers.
yep,
both
yep.
both is important.
That's it. That's
So,
it right there.
mm, but I say it's sometimes I think also I mean the whole startup culture is, I sometimes feel that even though I've been with it since the beginning, even before before it, right? My first web product I sold in 2002, and I guess no, it's not right, Web 2.0, right?
Yeah.
But it feels so alien to me to kind of read about what startups are considered now, and it's like, are we talking about the same thing? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just forge your own path, work out what works for you, and it. as I said, I'd probably just be doing the same thing, even if that plan was bringing in lots and lots of money, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't say refreshing. It's like a release to know that, oh well, hold on, this is what I should be doing anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Totally.
pressure's off in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
So
So,
how's your editing going, by the way? Next episode.
oh yes, I wanted to talk about that. I'm editing the next episode, and I had a weird issue with GarageBand where one day I was editing and everything was fine. And then I stopped for the day, and the following day I came back to it. I left it open, so
Mm.
it was in the background. And I came back to it, and now there's no audio. Everything is there, and the waves are there of all the audio
Yeah.
from all the tracks. But when I try to play it and preview it, I can't hear anything. There's nothing, and I don't know what it's doing. So I need to figure that out. I don't know if it's my computer or I
That's
played
weird.
with I played with settings and all the settings within GarageBand.
Mm.
I mean, I didn't change
No, yeah,
anything. I
right. Just
just
like it's gone. There's no audio.
I just I left my computer, came back the next day, and weird, no audio. So I don't know. I have to figure that out. But other than that, yeah, just hopefully I'll get it to.
Could like export. You can download like a trial of Logic Pro, which
Hmm,
imports GarageBand. Maybe worth like doing the I think it's a 14 or 30-day trial of Logic, just seeing if
Logic
that.
Pro.
Yeah, because that's Apple's basically Pro GarageBand, right? So it might be worth seeing if it loads in that, or send it to me and see if it loads on mine. I don't know. It may just be some weird thing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
I've never
yeah,
heard of that. That's a bit
yeah,
worrying,
yeah,
isn't it? It's like, especially if you can see the waveforms, it's like they're there, but I
yeah,
can't hear them.
yeah, yeah. I gotta try it again after I restarted my computer. I didn't. I mean, I've restarted my
Mm-hmm.
computer since then, and
Mm.
I haven't tried it again.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it'll clear up on
Fingers
its own.
crossed.
Yeah, yeah.
How's the editing
I
going for that? Was getting there? Was it going okay?
it's going okay.
More
It's still
editing than
quite
you
a
expected?
no, it's still quite a bit of editing that needs to be done. But I think as we progress and keep recording, it's getting a little better. So hopefully, yeah, it'll take less time as we move forward.
So
But
here's yeah. So here's
yeah,
something I
no.
was kind of thinking about. So I attended
Mm-hmm.
a online webinar of a few days ago for
Mm-hmm.
it was organized by the Shibuya Startup Center, which is Tokyo, same way that Fukuoka, the city, has like a startup advisory thing. Shibuya has one in Tokyo. So they
Mm-hmm.
had a this thing about accelerator um, systems that are active in Japan for English speaking founders.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and so one of them is actually organized by 500 startups, and the other two are more locally based, smaller. Well, one of them's small, the other one's not small at all, but it's local to Asia. I think it's started around here somewhere.
Okay.
And so they're all, free to apply. That the program is free, but obviously their goal and the third phase of all of their programs, so that they all have like a 3 or 4 month program, like that are all virtual at the moment, which is kind of nice. But they all have, there's a few hours a week that are basically, lessons, courses, and then there's mentors and all the rest. And so they're all like super interesting just because the topics they cover are super relevant to this, right? What we're doing. And they're all like, early stage, just, around this, have an MVP or have a product and all the rest. And I'm like, okay, I don't, but all of them have this goal, which at the end of it is, and then we'll help you get funding. And I'm like, well, that I don't really want to do, but I'm very interested in all the previous stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah.
is it unethical to actually apply and do these things, but then be like, well, I don't really not so interested in that? Because I mean, that's their goal. That's how they make money, right? As an
Yeah.
accelerator, is their goal is to get you to participate in a funding round, and they can,
Mm-hmm.
obviously that's their goal and
Mm-hmm.
probably how they operate. But I'm like, it sounds super useful, but that's not my goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
you're interested in the interaction and
Yeah.
the networking, the
The
connections,
community, the connections, the
community.
mentorship, the whole network is invaluable, right? But
Yeah,
obviously, the third phase or the last phase is always like, and then we help you hone your pitch, which that's not bad, that's helpful. And
yeah,
then we'll set up a demo day, and I'm like, yeah, for investors, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not
yeah,
really so
yeah,
pleased about that.
yeah, for sure. All right, Alan. Again, as always, I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Nice one. Okay, I'll catch you in 2 weeks.